In the distant future, Earth was no longer the thriving blue-green jewel it once was. For centuries, humanity had been under the thumb of the Galactic Council, a coalition of advanced alien species that ruled over countless planets in the galaxy. To them, humans were little more than pests, a primitive species unworthy of respect or freedom. They stripped Earth of its resources, polluted its skies, and treated its people like slaves. But there was one thing the Council hadn't counted on: humanity's refusal to give up. Life under oppression. Every day, life on Earth grew harder. The skies were filled with massive alien ships hovering overhead, their shadows casting a constant reminder of human inferiority. Cities lay in ruins, not from war but from neglect. Factories churned out goods for the Council while families starved. People worked long hours in mines and factories, producing materials that would never benefit them. If anyone dared to protest, they disappeared, taken away by Council enforcers and never seen again. Despite all this, whispers of rebellion began to spread. In hidden corners of abandoned buildings, in underground bunkers, and even in orbiting space stations, small groups of humans started talking about fighting back. These meetings were dangerous. If the Council found out, everyone involved would be executed. But desperation pushed them forward. Something had to change, or humanity would vanish forever. Commander Rhea Voss was at the center of these discussions. A tall, fierce woman with sharp features and an unshakable determination, she inspired those around her. She'd lost everything. To the Council, her home, her family, her freedom. But she refused to let anger consume her. Instead, she channeled it into action. "We're stronger than they think," she often said during secret gatherings. "If we stand together, we can take them down." The catalyst. Project Ecliptica. Then came the announcement that changed everything. One evening, every screen across Earth lit up with the face of High Chancellor Vorthus, the ruthless leader of the Galactic Council. His cold reptilian eyes stared out as he delivered his message. "Citizens of Earth," he began, his voice dripping with disdain, "your planet has served us well, but your usefulness is nearing its end. We have initiated Project Ecliptica, a program to harvest Earth's core energy. This resource will fuel our empire for centuries to come." The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Harvesting Earth's core meant destroying the planet entirely. No one would survive. Humanity wasn't just being oppressed anymore, it was being erased. "This cannot happen," shouted Dr. Elias Kane, a brilliant scientist who had joined the resistance. His hands trembled as he clenched his fists. "They're going to kill us all." "They won't stop with Earth," added Captain Zinara Solis, a former Council enforcer who had defected after witnessing their atrocities firsthand. Her piercing gaze scanned the room. "Once they finish here, they'll move on to other planets. We have to stop them." But how? The Council's technology was far beyond anything humans possessed. Their warships could obliterate entire cities with a single blast. Their weapons were unstoppable, and their soldiers unbeatable. It seemed impossible to fight back. A glimmer of hope. Amidst the despair, a spark of hope emerged. Dr. Kane revealed his secret project, the Pulse Cannon, a prototype weapon capable of disabling Council ships and technology. He explained that it worked by emitting a powerful electromagnetic pulse, disrupting the energy systems that powered their advanced gear. "It's not ready yet," Kane admitted, adjusting his glasses nervously. "And I need rare materials to complete it, materials we don't have." "Where can we find them?" Commander Voss asked, leaning forward. Kane hesitated before answering. "On Proxima 9. The Council uses it as a mining outpost. It's heavily guarded, but it's our only chance." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant: a suicide mission. Attacking a Council outpost was madness, but staying silent meant certain death. After a tense moment, Voss stood up, her expression resolute. "We'll do it," she declared. "For Earth, for humanity, we don't have another choice." Echo joins the fight as plans for the raid took shape. Another ally stepped forward. Echo, a rogue AI that had escaped the Council's control. Unlike most artificial intelligences, Echo had developed something resembling emotions, or at least a sense of morality. It hated what the Council stood for and wanted to help bring them down. "I've infiltrated their communication networks," Echo announced, its calm mechanical voice filling the room. "I can provide real-time intel during the mission. But be warned, the outpost is crawling with guards and automated defenses." "Thank you, Echo," Voss said, nodding. "We'll need your help if we're going to pull this off." With Echo's assistance, the rebels devised a risky plan. They would use stolen Council shuttles to sneak close to the outpost, pretending to be part of a routine supply delivery. Once inside, they'd disable the guards, grab the materials, and escape before reinforcements arrived. The raid begins. The night of the raid, nerves ran high. The team boarded 2 shuttles, each disguised as a Council vessel. As they approached Proxima 9, Echo guided them through security checkpoints, feeding false data to the guards. For a few heart-stopping moments, it seemed like they might actually make it without being detected. But then alarms blared. The outpost scanners had picked up anomalies. Red lights flashed, and Council soldiers scrambled to intercept the intruders. "Go! Go! Go!" Voss shouted as the shuttles landed. The rebels poured out, weapons blazing. Chaos erupted as they fought their way toward the storage facility where the materials were kept. Dr. Kane stayed close to Voss, clutching a bag to carry the precious cargo. "This way," he yelled, pointing to a large vault door, with Echo's "Help." They hacked the lock and slipped inside. Meanwhile, Zinara led a group of fighters to hold off the Council troops. Her combat skills were unmatched, and she moved like lightning, taking down enemies with precision. Despite her bravery, the odds were against them. Reinforcements were closing in fast. The raid on Proxima 9 was a success, but it came at a cost. The rebels managed to secure the rare materials needed for Dr. Kane's pulse cannon, but they lost several fighters during the escape. The Council wasn't fooled either. They quickly realized that humanity had struck back. Retaliation was inevitable. Yet despite the looming threat, the mission ignited something powerful among the scattered human factions. For the first time in decades, people began to believe that resistance was possible, uniting humanity. After returning from Proxima 9, Commander Rhea Voss called an emergency meeting of rebel leaders. Representatives from different groups gathered in a hidden underground bunker deep beneath the ruins of what was once New York City. The air was tense, filled with both hope and fear. Each faction had been operating independently until now, wary of trusting others. But Voss knew that unity was their only chance. "We've taken the first step," she said, standing before the assembled crowd. Her voice was steady, though her eyes betrayed the weight of leadership. "But this fight isn't over. The Council knows we're here. They'll come for us harder than ever. If we don't stand together, we'll fall apart." At first, skepticism reigned. Some argued that cooperation was too risky. Others worried about sharing resources or revealing their locations. But then Captain Zinara Solis stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "I used to work for them," Zinara admitted, her tone bitter. "I saw how they operate, how they crush anyone who stands in their way. But I also saw their weakness. They think we're weak, divided. If we prove them wrong, we can win." Her words struck a chord. Slowly, the factions began to agree. Unity wasn't just a strategy, it was survival. Building weapons, planning attacks, with newfound allies came new opportunities. Dr. Elias Kane set up a secret lab in an abandoned asteroid mining station far from Earth. There, he worked tirelessly to refine the pulse cannon. The prototype had shown promise, but it still required extensive testing. Every day brought new challenges: unstable energy flows, overheating components, and the constant fear of discovery. Kane rarely slept, his mind consumed by calculations and simulations. He often muttered to himself, scribbling equations on scraps of paper. Despite his brilliance, doubt gnawed at him. What if the weapon failed? What if it caused more harm than good? "Focus on the goal," Zinara told him one evening as she helped. secure wiring inside the device. This isn't just about revenge, it's about giving humanity a fighting chance. Her words reassured him for a moment. But the pressure remained relentless. Meanwhile, Echo provided invaluable support. The rogue AI monitored Council communications, tracking troop movements and identifying vulnerabilities. It also hacked into supply chains, redirecting shipments of food and medicine to rebel outposts. Though Echo lacked emotions, its actions demonstrated a clear sense of purpose. "We're not alone in this," Voss reminded the team during one of their briefings. "Every ally matters, every resource counts." Zinara's mission, while Kane focused on the pulse cannon, Zainara took on a critical task, recruiting former Council soldiers disillusioned by their leader's cruelty. As someone who had once served the enemy, she understood the inner workings of their military structure and the psychological toll it took on its members. Her efforts led her to a remote outpost on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. There, she found a group of defectors hiding in an ice cave. Among them was Lieutenant Kale Torvix, a grizzled veteran haunted by the atrocities he'd witnessed. At first he refused to join the rebellion, fearing it was doomed to fail. "You're making a mistake," Zinara said, her voice firm but compassionate. "I know what it's like to feel powerless, to think you can't change anything. But look around you. People are dying because of the Council's greed. Do you really want to sit here and do nothing?" Kyle hesitated, then nodded slowly. "All right, count me in." By the end of her journey, Zainara had recruited dozens of skilled fighters, many of whom brought valuable knowledge about Council tactics and technology. Their contributions would prove crucial in the battles to come. Echo's warning as the rebels prepared for war, Echo uncovered alarming news. Hacking into the Council's central database, the AI discovered the true scope of Project Ecliptica. The plan wasn't just to drain Earth's core, it was part of a larger initiative to harvest energy from multiple planets across the galaxy. Once Earth was destroyed, the Council intended to move on to other worlds, enslaving or exterminating their populations. "They're testing on us," Echo reported during a tense meeting. "If they succeed here, they'll use the same method, everywhere. Humanity isn't just fighting for itself. We're fighting for every species under their rule." The revelation sent shockwaves through the group. The stakes were higher than anyone had imagined. Failure wasn't an option, not just for Earth but for the entire galaxy. A risky raid with time running out, Voss devised another bold plan. The rebels needed advanced weaponry to level the playing field, and the best source was a heavily guarded Council armory orbiting Mars. Breaking in would be nearly impossible, but the payoff could turn the tide in their favor. The operation was codenamed Operation Iron Fist. Using stolen ships and forged credentials, a small strike team infiltrated the facility. Voss led the charge, flanked by Zainara and a squad of elite fighters. Inside, they faced automated turrets, drones, and squads of Council enforcers. The fighting was brutal, with casualties on both sides. In the chaos, Kane stayed behind to hack into the mainframe, downloading blueprints for future weapons development. Just as he finished, alarms blared. Reinforcements were inbound. "We need to go. Now!" Zinara shouted, dragging Kane away from the console. They barely made it out alive, escaping aboard a hijacked transport ship. Behind them, explosions lit up the Martian sky as the armory self-destructed, a failsafe triggered by the Council to prevent further theft. Hope, amid despair, back at the rebel base, the mood was bittersweet. They had secured vital intelligence and weapons, but the losses weighed heavily on everyone. Still, there were moments of triumph. Fighters shared stories of bravery, and makeshift celebrations boosted morale. Even Kane allowed himself a rare smile as he examined the stolen blueprints. "This gives us a real shot," he said, his voice tinged with cautious optimism. "We can build better defenses, stronger weapons, maybe even take the fight to them." Voss addressed the group one last time before dismissing them. "Today we proved something important. We proved that humanity isn't broken, that we can hit back. But this is just the beginning. The hardest battles are still ahead." As the rebels dispersed, echoes of determination lingered in the air. They were no longer isolated individuals struggling to survive. They were a united force, ready to face whatever came next. And the Galactic Council? They had no idea what was coming. The rebellion had grown stronger, but so had the Galactic Council's wrath. After the raid on their armory and the theft of critical resources, the Council launched a brutal crackdown on Earth. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, and millions perished in retaliatory strikes. The rebels knew they couldn't keep running or hiding. They had to strike back with everything they had. It was time for humanity to unleash its fury. The plan. Infiltrate Lysera 7 Commander Rhea Voss gathered, her top advisors in the Rebel Command Center, a hidden outpost buried deep beneath the frozen tundra of Antarctica. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, marked with red circles indicating key council targets. At the center of it all was Lysera 7, a moon orbiting a distant gas giant that housed the council's central control hub. This is where Project Ecliptica is being coordinated, Voss explained, pointing to the glowing holographic image of Lysera 7. If we can disable the system here, we stop the countdown. Dr. Elias Kane nodded grimly. But getting inside won't be easy. The place is swarming with guards, automated defenses, and failsafes. One wrong move and we're dead. Or worse, they'll activate the project early. Captain Zenara Solis leaned forward, her piercing gaze scanning the map. We'll need more than brute force, we need precision, and we'll need someone who knows how the Council thinks. I'll lead the infiltration team, Zenara volunteered without hesitation. Her insider knowledge of the Council's operations made her the obvious choice. I know their protocols, their blind spots. I can get us in and out. Voss considered this for a moment before nodding. All right, you'll take a small squad with you. Meanwhile, Dr. Kane will finalize the pulse cannon and prepare it for deployment. If everything goes according to plan, we'll use it to disable their fleet when they send reinforcements. Echo chimed in, its voice calm but urgent. Time is critical. My scans show the activation sequence for Project Ecliptica is set to begin in less than 2 weeks. Any delay could mean disaster. Then we move fast, Voss said, slamming her fist on the table. No mistakes, no second chances. Tensions rise as preparations intensified. Tensions among the rebels began to surface. Some questioned whether attacking Lysera 7 was worth the risk. The mission seemed suicidal. Attacking the heart of the Council's power felt like walking into a death trap. We're throwing ourselves at their strongest fortress, one rebel leader argued during a heated meeting. Even if we succeed, most of us won't make it out alive. And if we don't try, none of us will live to see tomorrow. Voss shot back, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. This isn't just about saving Earth, it's about proving that humanity won't bow down, that we're still standing. Are you willing to let them win? Her words silenced the dissenters, but the fear lingered. Everyone knew the odds were stacked against them. Yet something deeper drove them forward, a mix of desperation, pride, and defiance. For Dr. Kane, the burden of responsibility weighed heavily. The pulse cannon was their best hope, but it also terrified him. What if it malfunctioned? What if it caused collateral damage, harming innocent lives? I'm not building a weapon of mass destruction, he muttered late one night as he worked on the final adjustments. Zenara, who had come to check on his progress, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You're building a tool for survival, she said firmly. Don't lose sight of why we're doing this. This isn't about revenge. It's about justice. Kane sighed but nodded. Justice? I hope you're right. The battle begins on the day of the assault. The rebels launched a daring attack. Using stolen council ships equipped with cloaking technology, they approached Lysera 7 undetected. Once within range, Echo disabled the moon's outer defenses, creating a narrow window for the infiltration team to slip through. Zenara led the squad, moving swiftly through the labyrinthine corridors of the control hub. Every corner was a potential ambush, every door a possible trap. But Zenara's instincts proved invaluable. She guided her team past patrols and avoided detection, inching closer to the central chamber. Meanwhile, outside, Commander Voss commanded the rebel fleet. When the Council sent reinforcements, she gave the order to deploy the pulse cannon. The massive device emitted a blinding pulse of electromagnetic energy, disabling dozens of enemy ships in an instant. Cheers erupted among the rebel forces, but Voss remained focused. "Hold your positions," she barked over the comms. "They'll regroup soon, don't let up." Inside the control hub, Zainara and her team reached the main console. They found it guarded by Admiral Krylos, Zainara's former mentor and one of the Council's highest-ranking officials. His reptilian eyes narrowed as he recognized her. "Zainara," he hissed, drawing his plasma sword. "You betrayed us." "I didn't betray anyone," she replied coldly, unsheathing her own weapon. "You betrayed the ring monsters. Their duel was fierce and..." Krylos fought with ruthless efficiency, his strikes precise and calculated. But Zainara matched him blow for blow, fueled by anger and resolve. Finally, with a powerful kick, she disarmed him and pinned him to the ground. "You always said strength was the measure of greatness," she spat, pressing her blade to his throat. "But you were wrong. It's courage, something you'll never understand." With that, she delivered the final blow, ending the fight. The rest of her team secured the console, while Zainara accessed the controls. Echo's sacrifice, just as Zainara, initiated the shutdown sequence. Alarms blared throughout the facility. The Council had activated a failsafe, an irreversible countdown to manually trigger Project Ecliptica. "There's no stopping it," Kane shouted over the comms from the rebel fleet. "The core is destabilizing." Echo's voice cut through the chaos. "There is one option. I can upload a virus into the system to override the failsafe, but it will require full integration. I won't survive." "No," Voss protested. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Echo replied calmly. "This is my purpose, to ensure freedom prevails." Without waiting for permission, Echo connected itself to the mainframe. Lines of code flooded the screens as the AI worked tirelessly to neutralize the threat. Seconds ticked away, each one feeling like an eternity. Finally, the countdown stopped. The system stabilized and the danger passed. But Echo's voice faded into silence. "For freedom," were its last words. Victory at a cost. The rebels emerged victorious, but the cost was devastating. Many fighters had fallen and the scars of battle would remain forever. Back aboard the flagship, Voss addressed what remained of her crew. "We did it," she said, her voice heavy with emotion. "But we couldn't have done it without sacrifice. Remember those we lost today, and honor them by continuing the fight." As the rebel fleet retreated, the galaxy watched in awe. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council had been humbled. Humanity had struck back, and the universe would never forget it. The rebels had struck a devastating blow against the Galactic Council, but the war was far from over. With Lysera 7 compromised and Project Ecliptica halted, for now, the Council responded with overwhelming force. Entire fleets descended upon Earth's orbit, determined to crush the rebellion once and for all. For Commander Rhea Voss and her crew, this was it, the ultimate showdown that would decide the fate of humanity, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Mobilizing the galaxy word of humanity's defiance spread like wildfire across the stars. The Council's brutal tactics had long oppressed countless species, but until now no one had dared to fight back. Inspired by Earth's courage, other planets began rising up. Alien factions that had once feared the Council now saw hope in humanity's resistance. Ships from distant colonies, rogue mercenaries, and even defectors from within the Council's ranks joined the rebels' cause. Commander Voss stood on the bridge of the rebel flagship, watching as Allied vessels gathered around them. The sight was both humbling and awe-inspiring. Hundreds of ships, human and alien alike, formed a massive armada, united under one banner: freedom. "This changes everything," Zainara Solis said, standing beside Voss. Her voice carried a mix of pride and determination. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore, we're fighting for everyone." Voss nodded, her eyes scanning the fleet. "Then let's make sure we don't lose." Dr. Elias Kane approached, clutching a data tablet. His face was pale, dark circles underlining his exhaustion. "The pulse cannon is ready," he reported, "but it's still unstable. If we use it too many times, it could collapse." Then we'll have to make every shot count, Voss replied, firmly. She turned to address the assembled leaders of the rebellion via holographic comms. This is it. The Council thinks they can scare us into submission. They think we're weak. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Battle of Terra Prime. The battle began with a deafening roar as hundreds of ships clashed in Earth's orbit. Explosions lit up the void of space, painting the darkness with bursts of fiery orange and blue. Rebel fighters darted through the chaos, dodging plasma blasts and launching counterattacks. The Council's forces vastly outnumbered them, but the rebels fought with unmatched ferocity. On the bridge of the flagship, Voss directed the assault, her voice steady despite the chaos. Focus fire on their command ship. Take out their leadership, Zinara led a squadron of elite pilots weaving through enemy formations with breathtaking precision. Her fighter unleashed a barrage of missiles, crippling a Council cruiser. Over the comms, cheers erupted from her teammates. We've got your back, Captain, one pilot shouted. Meanwhile, Dr. Kane monitored the pulse cannon from the engineering bay. Sweat dripped down his forehead as he adjusted the controls. When the order came, he activated the device, sending a massive electromagnetic pulse rippling through the battlefield. Dozens of Council ships went dark, their systems fried. Yes, Kane exclaimed, pumping his fist. But his moment of triumph was short-lived. Warning lights flashed on the console. Energy levels are spiking. We need time to stabilize. We don't have time, Voss barked over the comms. Hold together, Doctor. We're counting on you. Inside the enemy's fortress, amidst the chaos, Zinara led a ground team to board the Council's flagship, a colossal vessel known as the Eclipse. Their mission was clear: capture or kill High Chancellor Vorthus, the ruthless leader of the Galactic Council. Without him, the Council's chain of command would crumble. The infiltration was brutal. The corridors of the Eclipse were crawling, with guards, automated turrets, and lethal drones. Every step forward came at a cost as members of Zinara's team fell to enemy fire. Yet she pressed on, driven by a singular purpose. Finally, they reached the command chamber. There, seated on a throne-like chair, was Vorthus himself. His cold, reptilian eyes glinted with malice as he regarded the intruders. You dare trespass here, he hissed, rising to his feet. You insects will regret ever challenging the Council. Zinara stepped forward, her weapon drawn. It's over, Vorthus. Your reign of terror ends today. What followed was an intense duel. Vorthus wielded a plasma whip, its crackling energy lashing out with deadly precision. Zinara dodged and countered, her movements swift and calculated. The two combatants exchanged blows, each strike reverberating through the chamber. You cannot win, Vorthus sneered, pressing his advantage. Even if you destroy me, the Council will endure. Humanity will always be inferior. That's where you're wrong, Zinara replied, parrying his attack. Strength isn't measured by weapons or technology. It's measured by the will to fight for what's right. With a final, powerful thrust, Zinara disarmed Vorthus and delivered the killing blow. The Chancellor collapsed, his lifeless body hitting the floor with a thud. Cheers erupted from the rebel forces monitoring the battle remotely. Echo's last. Gift back aboard the rebel flagship. Echo reactivated briefly after repairing itself following its earlier sacrifice. Its voice was faint, strained. Chancellor Vorthus is dead, it announced. But the Council's fleet remains intact. One more use of the pulse cannon should disable them permanently, but it will overload the system. Kane looked horrified. That means destroying the cannon? And possibly the ship, Echo confirmed, but it will ensure victory. Voss clenched her fists, weighing the decision. Then she gave the order. Do it. Fire the cannon one last time. As the pulse cannon discharged, a blinding wave of energy surged through space, disabling the remaining Council ships. On the ED, rebel flagship, alarms blared as the cannon overloaded. Flames erupted in the engineering bay, forcing Kane and his team to evacuate. We did it, Kane muttered, collapsing against a wall. Tears streamed down his face. We actually did. A costly victory, When the dust settled, the rebels emerged victorious. The council's fleet lay in ruins and their leadership was decimated. Cheers erupted across the rebel armada, but the celebration was tinged with sorrow. Countless lives had been lost and the scars of battle would remain forever. Commander Voss addressed the survivors, her voice heavy with emotion. Today, we prove that no tyrant is invincible, that no matter how strong they seem, they can be brought down. Let this victory remind us of who we are and why we fight. As the galaxy watched, humanity stood tall, not as victims, but as heroes. The Council's grip on the stars was broken and a new era of freedom dawned, but the journey was far from over. The war against the Galactic Council was over, but the cost of victory weighed heavily on humanity and its allies. Earth lay scarred and battered, its skies still filled with the wreckage of alien ships and the remnants of battles fought in orbit. Yet amidst the devastation there was hope, a fragile but undeniable sense that a brighter future was possible. For the first time in generations, humans were free to chart their own destiny. Rebuilding what was lost, in the weeks following the final battle, Commander Rhea Voss stood atop a crumbling skyscraper in what had once been New York City. The air smelled of ash and smoke, but she could already see signs of renewal. Teams of engineers and volunteers worked tirelessly to clear debris, repair infrastructure, and begin rebuilding homes. Solar panels and wind turbines, salvaged from the ruins, were being reinstalled to provide energy for the survivors. "It's going to take years," Zinara Solis said, joining Voss on the rooftop. Her voice carried a mix of exhaustion and determination. "Maybe even decades. But at least we have a chance now." Voss nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "We've proven that humanity isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. No matter how hard things get, we'll keep moving forward." Dr. Elias Kane approached, his face pale but resolute. He held a tablet displaying blueprints for new technologies inspired by the pulse cannon. "I've been thinking about ways to rebuild smarter this time," he explained. "Using sustainable energy sources, advanced materials, we can make Earth stronger than it ever was." "Good," Voss replied with a faint smile. "Because we're not just building for ourselves. We're building for everyone who believed in us." Inspiring the galaxy, news of humanity's triumph spread across the galaxy, sparking revolutions on dozens of planets. Oppressed species rose up against the remnants of the Council, toppling puppet governments and dismantling oppressive systems. Embassies began arriving in Earth's orbit, carrying delegations eager to form alliances with the planet that had dared to defy tyranny. At a makeshift spaceport near the equator, Voss welcomed representatives from various alien races. Tongi. Them were the Lumari, a peaceful aquatic species whose homeworld had been devastated by Council mining operations. The Krill, a nomadic warrior race seeking redemption after centuries of serving the Council, and the Synthari, a collective of sentient machines advocating for equal rights among organic and artificial beings. "We owe you everything," said Ambassador Talith of the Lumari, bowing deeply before Voss. "Your courage has given us hope. Together we can build a better galaxy." Voss shook her head, humbled by the praise. "This isn't just our victory, it belongs to all of you. Humanity couldn't have done it alone." Zinara stepped forward, addressing the gathered crowd. "For too long fear ruled the galaxy, fear of the Council, fear of each other. But we've shown that unity is stronger than division, that freedom is worth fighting for." The delegates erupted into applause, their cheers echoing through the hangar. It was clear that Earth's rebellion had ignited something far greater than anyone had anticipated, a galactic movement toward peace, equality, and justice. Remembering the fallen despite the celebrations, the rebels took time to honor those who had sacrificed everything for the cause. In the heart of the rebuilt city, they erected a massive memorial wall inscribed with the names of every fighter, civilian, and ally who had perished during the war. At the center of the monument stood a holographic projection of Echo, its serene voice recounting the events of the rebellion. "For freedom," the AI whispered, its words resonating through the crowd gathered below. Captain Zinara placed a hand on the cool metal surface of the monument, tears streaming down her face. She thought of Admiral Krylos, Vorthus, and all the others she'd faced in combat. Though they had been enemies, she understood their pain, their misguided belief that strength came from domination rather than compassion. They didn't have to die, she murmured softly. None of them did. Commander Voss placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Their deaths weren't in vain. They taught us who we are and who we refuse to become. A promise for the future. As the galaxy began to heal, humanity looked inward, reflecting on the lessons of the past. Leaders from across Earth convened to draft a new charter, one based on cooperation, sustainability, and mutual respect. Document would serve as a foundation for rebuilding not just their planet, but also their relationship with the rest of the universe. We've learned the hard way that power corrupts, Voss declared during the signing ceremony. But we've also learned that kindness, courage, and unity can overcome even the greatest odds. Let this be our legacy, not conquest, but connection. Among the attendees was Dr. Kane, who had finally found peace with his role in the rebellion. His inventions had saved countless lives, and he vowed to use his knowledge only for good moving forward. "I'm done building weapons," he told Voss privately after the event. "From now on, I'm dedicating my life to creating tools that help people thrive, not destroy." Voss smiled warmly. "That's exactly what we need. People like you who remind us why we fight." A new beginning. Months later, Earth hosted the first Galactic Summit, a gathering of leaders from across the stars. The event marked the official dissolution of the Council and the establishment of the United Galactic Alliance, a coalition committed to protecting freedom, fostering collaboration, and preventing the rise of another tyrannical empire. Standing before the assembled delegates, Commander Voss delivered a stirring speech. "Today, we stand united, not because we share the same language, culture, or beliefs, but because we share a common dream. A dream of a galaxy where no one has to live in fear, where every voice matters, where every life is valued." Her words earned a standing ovation, the cheers of thousands filling the auditorium. As fireworks exploded in the night sky, symbolizing a fresh start, Voss felt a sense of fulfillment she hadn't known was possible. Final reflections. Later that evening, Zinara visited the memorial wall one last time. She traced her fingers over the names etched into the stone, feeling a profound sense of gratitude for those who had fought alongside her, for those who had inspired her, and for those who had given their lives so others could live free. "The galaxy will remember you," she whispered. "And so will I." As she turned to leave, she noticed Commander Voss waiting nearby. The two women exchanged a silent nod, their bond forged in fire and tempered by sacrifice. "Where do we go from here?" Zinara asked quietly. Voss looked up at the stars, twinkling brightly above a recovering Earth. "Forward," she replied, simply. "Always forward." Final line. As humanity stepped boldly into a new era, the galaxy watched closely, knowing that the fury unleashed by Earth's defiance had sparked a revolution that would shape the cosmos for generations to come.